What's up, YouTube? This is NumberTwo. I've completely given up on my hair. It's probably just going to be assortment of terrible hairstyles that are going to be flip-flopping throughout the entire video because I can't get it right. Just as long as it stays out of my eyes, I suppose. That's fine enough. Anyway, today we are going to be continuing my series of Doctor Who ranking videos. I've been just diving into all of Doctor Who as of recently. I've been working on Classic Who for the first time in like forever, which is pretty phenomenal, being able to experience new Doctor Who since I've mainly just been watching the modern series. Since it's what I grew up on, it's the series that I love. Classic Who definitely is, dated and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, if you look at it as though it's like, oh, this is the time that it was, and you kind of just embrace that, it's a really fun watch. I've watched Tomb of the Cybermen, all of series 12, or season 12 of Tom Baker. I've watched Pyramids of Mars, Terror of the Zygons, and Remembrance of the Daleks. There was another one. Oh, I don't remember. Oh yeah, Terror of the Autons, which is the first Master story with the third Doctor. So yeah, I'm enjoying my time in Classic Who, which is pretty phenomenal. But again, we're not talking about the Classic Who series in this video. Today, we're going to be ranking the Modern Who series, which is series 1 to 10. Not ranking Jodie Whittaker because, one, I have not seen them. I've seen a little bit of series 11, nothing of series 12. And two, in my head canon, they don't exist. It's not sort of like, I'm not the kind of fan that is like super mad at Chris Chibnall, although he is not on the same level as Stephen Moffat and the other showrunners. Obviously, I'm not bloodthirsty. I'm not out to get the man. But yeah, his series are definitely dropping quality, at least in my eyes. I know a lot of people have the tolerance to enjoy them. More power to you. Not my favorite thing to watch in the world. There's a part of writing scripts that is super important to me, which is show, don't tell. Chris Chibnall has to tell you everything. He cannot let the camera talk for itself, or an actor's performance, a nonverbal performance, talk for itself. Every single beat of the story has to be explained by somebody, typically the Doctor, which is why I don't like his stories. They make me feel like an idiot. So, yeah, we're not going to be ranking his series. Again, I haven't seen them, so I couldn't rank them if I wanted to. And I don't. So, that's over with. And I'm also going to be splitting Series 7 into two parts. So, 7A and 7B. The first part being the 5 episodes with Amy and Rory. The second half being the 7 or 8 episodes with Clara. Because there is a marked difference in tone for the two. And they were released in different years, which is pretty extravagant, much like Breaking Bad's final series. 5A was filmed in 2012 and 5B was filmed in 2013. So I mean, hey, it was the exact same years as well. That's actually really weird. What? Breaking Bad and Doctor Who. Anyway, and we're also including the David Tennant specials, of course, as their own series. So we got 12 series to rank. Number 12, Series 7B. And also, I'm going to be doing something a little bit interesting. I have all the episodes pulled up on my second monitor. And I'm going to pick my favorite and least favorite episode from each series. So, yeah. Again, my hair is bad. Don't look at it. So, 7B. What's the deal with this series? Clara's a plot point. That's pretty much the big deal. I've never really been super critical of this aspect. I grew up with Matt Smith, and I remember watching the series when it came out. I remember being pretty much engaged all the way with the Impossible Girl. From the moment she reappeared in the Snowman, I was like, wow, what? She's alive again. I gotta see how this works out. There are a lot of complications with the series. Mainly, it was the 50th anniversary year of Doctor Who, and Stephen Moffat had to, plan the 50th, which took up a bunch of quality from the series, which kind of sucks because the series that aired on the 50th is the worst of the modern era. So, we have a lot of really not good episodes in this bunch. A few okay ones, but nothing that I would be super, excited about rewatching. I don't know if I'm including the Christmas specials or Day of the Doctor. I probably will. I've never actually been a big fan of Day of the Doctor. In my opinion, the 50th anniversary special is An Adventure in Space and Time, which I absolutely love. It is leagues better than Day of the Doctor. Not that Day of the Doctor's bad, but it in some ways it's kind of underwhelming. Not largely, but you know, slightly. I kind of hope that Christopher Eccleston would have showed up, but he didn't. So we got what we got. And yeah, if I am including Christmas specials and whatnot, I probably will have Time with the Doctor as my favorite episode of this bunch, because it is the most climactic and has the most stuff that happens in it, and it was also Matt Smith's last story. It's one of my more fondly remembered stories, a lot of nostalgia, since I watched this when it came out on Christmas, and I bawled like a baby when Matt Smith regenerated. So yeah, if we're not including Christmas specials, Cold War, I guess, would be my favorite. Still not a super amazing episode, but it's shot well and directed well, and also has the Ice Warriors return, so I guess that's cool. My least favorite, either the Crimson Horror or Nightmare in Silver. The Crimson Horror is an absolutely terrible villain, and it's not a particularly beautiful episode of modern era Who. Like the stylization of it and the pacing in general, super wonky. Nightmare in Silver also, because it commits a lot of sins in relation to the Cybermen, and it also has the unpleasant featuring of the Clara's two children that she's babysitting for some reason that Stephen Moffat felt the need to include in the story. Or I don't even know if Stephen Moffat wrote it. I might be completely wrong on that. Actually, I'm pretty sure Stephen Moffat didn't write that, but they're in it, and it is hindered because of it, so yep, that is 7B. Moving on to number 11. Wow, we're I just realized we are 7 minutes into this video, and we're barely just started. This might be a longer one. Because I really like critiquing these series. So, you know, bear with me if this ends up being a super long video, but you get a more fulfilling critique of these series. So, Series 8. Why is this second worst? Well, I love Peter Capaldi. He's my favorite Doctor. Let's start off with that. And Missy's in this series, which is pretty great. The main reason I don't love it is because the Doctor is kind of having an identity crisis in the series, which further services his arc through the rest of his tenure as the Doctor. But for a bulk of the series, he is really mischaracterized. Rightly so, because it's part of his character to be confused about his character, which is pretty, you know, interesting and brilliant, but still a little bit disconcerting. The first episode he's really great is Mummy on the Orient Express, which is fourth from, that's like the fifth from the finale, episode 8 out of 12, if we're not including the Christmas specials. So that's not a really great outline for the series to have the Doctor finally become the Doctor 8 episodes in. But it still has some great acting from Capaldi, and also great chemistry from Jenna Coleman and Peter Capaldi. I watched the behind the scenes of Deep Breath, which is the pilot for this series. At the first script reading for Deep Breath, man, Capaldi and Coleman have really great chemistry. It's really great. It really helps with watching the series. There are some still good episodes in this one. A bunch are meh and filler. Not super filler, but, you know, meh. My favorite one is probably... I know people expect Mummy on the Orient Express. I'm going to go with Deep Breath because, I don't know, I think it's a great opener, and it perfectly sets up what is to come with this series. Oh, by the way, I should clarify, I don't think any series at large is bad. When you're dealing with something called, you know, ranking all the series in Doctor Who, you're going to have to put them in some sort of order. Just because this one is second worst doesn't mean I absolutely despise it. There are a handful of episodes that I would not care to revisit in this series, but it's still not a waste of time. by any means. It's still pretty okay. I mean, 7B didn't really have a good episode, but I mean, it's still Doctor Who. You get some nice moments in between all these bad episodes, so yeah, it was definitely worth it to watch them. But yeah, my least favorite is Kill the Moon, because of the moon is an egg stuff, which the world knows about and how bad it is. Anyway, number 10, I believe, is Series 2. Series 2, David Tennant's first series. So what's the deal with the series? Well, it's pretty largely accepted that this series is 50-50 in good episodes and bad episodes. It's notorious for that. I guess I should start by saying that I am not a fan of Rose Tyler. I really, really am not a fan, because I don't like romance in Doctor Who. River Song is a different Megillah. You know, she's her own character. Rose Tyler is a human girl, 19-year-old woman, flirting, written into true love with a 900-year-old alien man. Wow. Just because it's David Tennant does not justify everything that goes on in the series. I mean, just for that alone, it is a huge thing about Russell T Davies that I do not like. It makes me want to skip this series altogether, just because of that. But there are some really, really good episodes in this. I rewatched the series recently. I say it's a lot better than I remember it. In particular, the individual episodes, even the ones that were kind of meh, I rewatched, and they have some really, really great stuff. Particularly Tooth and Claw. That episode really surprised me when I rewatched it. My favorite episode, though, is The Girl in the Fireplace. Because I love everything that goes on in this one. All of the sci-fi stuff, and the Doctor and his character, and also the Clockwork Droids. And Stephen Moffat in general gets a lot of flack for being, showrunner of Doctor Who. Before he was showrunner, these episodes were, topping every series, pretty much. And yeah, this one is my favorite. My least favorite have to be Fear Her. The reason it's not Love and Monsters is because I've never really seen Love and Monsters until recently. And I went in with super low expectations because I know everyone hates this episode. But yeah, I actually really liked it. I thought it was, I didn't really like it, but it was not as bad as everyone's made it out to be. I think it's a entertaining watch for the most part. I really like the stuff that goes on with Jackie Tyler. It really deepens the consequences of Rose's actions for running off with the Doctor and ruining her mother's life. Especially the character of What's-His-Face, the main protagonist, how he actually grew to care for Jackie, and she didn't trust him at all because of, Rose has just let her down so often. She's grown to not trust people. It's really interesting character work, so, for that alone, I don't think it justifies the bottom spot of the series. Fear Her just does everything wrong. Yeah, whatever. Moving on. Number 9. Pretty sure that's number 9. Series 1. A lot of people love this series. I'm not saying that you are wrong. In fact, you're right. But it's not my cup of tea, particularly. Mainly because it was made in 2005, and I'm someone who really loves cinematography. Really loves it. It's definitely on my bullet list of critiques for, cinema these days. Or, television in this case. And this series does not look good. It's very overlit, and it really takes away from the more dramatic moments. It's lit really bubbly. It's so strange how overly lit all the scenery is. There are some great shots in the series, of course, but the series at large, the lighting is not my favorite. But we still have some really great episodes, in particular, The Parting of the Ways. Wow, what a finale. Christopher Eccleston in this series at large, so good. The reason it is lower is because this is also kind of a series. It's 50-50, not super 50-50, but it's pretty much not consistent in its quality, which Doctor Who has always been, but you know, it's not going to change the ranking of it. And also the lighting factor, and some of the CGI, of course, but the performances, the scripts, and a handful of these stories are really, really good. So, yeah, that bumped it up for me. And I know this episode has a cult following. I'm not saying it's not bad. Just not my favorite in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, moving on. Oh, wait. No, yeah, I did. Anyway, wait, no, I didn't. My favorite is Parting the Ways. My least favorite, I didn't pick my least favorite, Aliens of London, World War III. Because of the fart jokes. Anyway, Series 10 is number 8. So, in particular, things that have good things going for this series is Peter Capaldi at his best in this series. His character has fully been fleshed out. Every single episode in this series is Peter Capaldi playing the best Doctor ever put to screen. And for that alone, it is up here. It also has Missy, and it also has that finale. Oh my god, World Enough Time of the Doctor Falls, what a finale. That was so good. That was so good. I do like Nardole. Things that I don't like, I'm not the biggest fan of Bill as a companion. I feel like she kind of hinders a little bit on some of the episodes because she's super harsh on the Doctor. I mean, a lot of companions are, you know, scolding of the Doctor sometimes. I feel like it doesn't really mesh with Peter Capaldi because he's generally wise and responsible. I mean, the whole him being blind and lying to Bill. I mean, her calling him an idiot, rather. Yeah, it's deserved. The whole shooting him in the Live the Land and the fake regeneration. I'm mixed feelings on it. It was a nice surprise, I suppose, but I mean, feels kind of gimmicky in hindsight. And in general, a lot of these episodes in the series they feel filler in their design. Basically, in the way that there is no overarching mystery in this one, which is a pretty big formula break from all of Modern Who. Because, if we look back, if we look back in every series, Series 1 had Bad Wolf, Series 2 had Torchwood, Series 3 had Harold Saxon, Series 4 had The Missing Planets, The Disappearing Bees, and The Appearances of Rose. Series 5 had The Cracks in Time. Series 6 had like 6 plot points. We had the Doctor dying in the first episode, Amy being pregnant, Who's River Song, Madame Kavarian appearing through walls to Amy, the mysterious child, and there's another one. Silence Will Fall, I guess. There are a bunch. And then Series 7, we had The Impossible Girl. Series 8 was The Appearances of Missy. Series 9 was The Hybrid. We don't really get one in this series. We do get The Vault, I suppose, but that's resolved halfway through the series. And the episodes that came before it really didn't develop it super a lot. I mean, they're Smile, Thin Ice, Knock Knock, and Oxygen all are distinct in their, you know, setting. One of them's in the future, one of them is in the past, one of them's at modern day in like a house that a guy, and then one's on a spaceship. So, I mean, it's not like the plot is interwoven between them. They're all pretty, you know, separate. I mean, every episode of the series is pretty separate except for the monks, which is good and bad. I don't particularly love it, but it's not super terrible. I mean, if you're that kind of person that likes, you know, every week there being something completely different, which is a very valid thing to like about Doctor Who. Yeah, this episode will be for you. I do like building up plots, though. That's one of the things I do like about Modern Who. So, this series did not have that, but it did have some great things that I went over. So, yeah. Number 7. Series 7A. which is Asylum of the Daleks, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, A Town Called Mercy, The Power of Three, and The Angels Take Manhattan. This is also a series that I have fond memories of. I remember being very scared of the guys in the surgeon masks in The Power of Three. I remember not being able to watch this episode. It was pretty scary for me because I was like 11 or whatever it was. But yeah, in general, I mean it's only 5 episodes, but there's some good stuff here. And in particular, A Town Called Mercy is my favorite because it's so good for the Doctor's character. And also the development of the companions and whatnot. And The Angels Take Manhattan has, Amy's death. So we have that going for this series as well. In general, this is a great kind of epilogue to what happened in Series 6. Providing the building blocks for the end of this relationship. We're at the final steps of Amy and Rory's relationship. We had a rough start, but we're finally kind of distancing ourselves from the Doctor until they eventually have to part ways. So I think this works spectacularly in that regard. Again, only 5 episodes, and Dinosaurs on a Spaceship and The Power of Three are not good. But I'd say 3 of these, one of them is not liked by a lot of people, but I personally like Asylum of the Daleks. I think it's good fun, and A Town Called Mercy and The Angels Take Manhattan being pretty great, all things considered. Yeah. My least favorite is Dinosaurs on a Spaceship because The Power of Three actually does some interesting stuff with the Doctor. Again, written by Chris Chibnall, so yeah. Anyway, number 6, I believe, is Series 6. A lot of people don't like Series 6. I say this is your typical Doctor Who series, and it's great. We have a lot of bad episodes, but a lot of great ones too, and a lot of not bad episodes at all. In particular, Curse of the Black Spot, The Rebel Flesh and the Almost People, Night Terrors, and The God Complex are episodes that a lot of people don't really like, but are also not bad at all. Really great Doctor Who stories. And there's a lot of great stuff here too. In particular, my favorite episode of the series, The Doctor's Wife. I mean, written by Neil Gaiman. Hello. It's so good. And also The Girl Who Waited and The God Complex as well. The God Complex just tickles my cinematographic. Is that a word? Cinematographic. It is a word. Cinematographic. The art or technique of motion picture photography. I didn't even know that was a word. I mean, cinematographic. That's such a fun word. That's my favorite word now. Cinematographic. Wow. Anyway, God Complex tickles my cinematographic roots in that the episode's beautiful, and you got a lot of striking hotel imagery, and it's also got some interesting stories as well. Not great episodes in this bunch. Let's Kill Hitler, and the chief among them, you have the finale, The Wedding of Eversong, which is the worst, and Closing Time, I suppose, but never been a super huge critic of that episode. You got James Corden in it, so how could you? Yeah, The Wedding of Eversong is the worst out of this bunch. It fails to wrap up a lot of the threads in the series, but yeah, I mean, one super terrible episode makes up for episodes that are, I mean, there's a few not amazing, but yeah, we got a lot of good ones and a lot of great ones. So yeah, I say this series is really good and way too harshly criticized. Anyway, number 5, I believe. 1, 2, 3. Yep, number 5. We have the David Tennant specials. I could have a field day with these. And this includes Planet of the Dead, The Waters of Mars, and The End of Time. It's part 1 and 2. I'm really trying to resist the urge to talk about The Waters of Mars. It's my second favorite Doctor Who story. Only second to Heaven Sent, which you can't really beat Heaven Sent, so yeah, Waters of Mars, what a great episode. I'm not going to talk about Waters of Mars, I promise. If you want to hear me talk about the Waters of Mars, watch my top 10 Doctor Who episodes in the modern era. It's a terrific critique. David Tennant special number 5 because Planet of the Dead is not super terrible, but not super memorable, but it is not bad at all. And The End of Time part 1 and 2, I've been on record saying that these are actually not bad as everyone says, especially part 2. Part 1, is all set up, whatever. Typically, you count 2 parts as one story, and because of what part 2 does for the whole 2-parter, I say this is a pretty climactic episode and satisfying as well. So yeah, I say the End of Time part 1 and 2 are definitely not bad episodes, and I wouldn't say get too much hate because there are the fans of David Tennant as a whole because he's hot, but I mean people who generally don't like this episode, I think critique it a little bit too much, or nitpick, I suppose. Not nitpick to the degree that I'm kind of implying, but just little things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Waters of Mars, I don't even need to talk about it. It's so great. I am not going to talk about the Waters of Mars. I'm not going to talk about it. Moving on. Number 4, Series 9. Series 9. Series 9. Well, we have Peter Capaldi. Peter Capaldi back again in this series, and that's a great thing in itself. I really do love him in this series. Really great. We have a lot of great moments for Capaldi in this one. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. Heaven Sent is in this series. Heaven Sent. Heaven freaking Sent. Definitely my favorite from this bunch. Heaven Sent. We're not going to talk about Heaven Sent. We also have Hellbent. A lot of people don't like it. I mean, it's got Capaldi in it, so, I mean, it can't be that bad. And it also looks pretty good, so. I mean, it does some bad stuff with Clara, but I can just let that pass for the fun stuff that the episode does. We also have the Magician's Apprentice and the Witch's Familiar, which is a great Dalek story, at least in my opinion. That does some interesting stuff with Davros and the Doctor and Davros' relationship, as well as the Doctor himself. Under the Lake and Before the Flood is way better than people let on. The Girl Who Died and the Woman Who Lived is very bad, but, the Zygon Invasion and Zygon Inversion are meh Zygon stories, but you also have that moment in the Zygon Inversion with the Doctor's speech about war, which also makes it worthwhile. And Sleep No More is bad, but Face the Raven and Heaven Sent are also pretty good. So, yeah, Series 9, in general, pretty experimental series, but I say it paid off. You got Capaldi, pretty good. Clara, in her only appearance that I really genuinely like, because she actually pays consequences for her actions. She's like a better Rose, in that she actually died because she got too into traveling with the Doctor, so she died. And then Hellbent happened, but, whatever. We can just forget about Hellbent for now. Anyway, number 3. We have Series 3. This high. I can't believe it. I know. When did I rank these? Let's look at this. So, Series 3, we have David Tennant back again with Freema Agyeman as Martha. I don't particularly know how to pronounce her name. I've heard people pronounce it as Agyeman and Agyeman. I've always pronounced it as Agyeman, so... yeah. So what do we have in this series? We have Blink. A lot of people do like Blink. I'm not super hot on it, but it is really good. Human Nature and the Family of Blood is probably my favorite from this bunch. We also have Utopia and The Return of the Master. Wow. That is really good. So, oof. I guess Human Nature and the Family of Blood is my favorite from this bunch, but Utopia is a close second. It is really good. We also do have a bunch of crap in this series. We got the Shakespeare Code, not super hot on it. Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks, and the Lazarus Experiment, not great. The finale does commit some fouls, but in general, entertaining watch, satisfying conclusion. Not super critical of 42. It is Chris Chibnall's episode, and it has the 42-minute gimmick. I say it's not super terrible, but yeah, it is bad. The worst of this bunch is probably Daleks in Manhattan, for reasons I shouldn't have to explain. Oh yeah, also Smith and Jones, which is pretty great too. In general, another 50-50 series, but I do like the character arcs here, and it does feel like quality Doctor Who in this bunch. So statistically, I'm getting tired if you can't tell. Statistically, This episode does have, more weaker episodes and less good episodes, but as a collective whole, I think the series succeeds at large better than some of the other ones before. Anyway, number 2 is Series 5. Series 5. I've gone back and forth in my time on this planet on whether I think Series 5 or Series 4 is the best episode, or rather series of modern Doctor Who, and we're finally setting it in stone. I think Series 5 is weaker, simply because Series 4 has more climactic build-up because it's the end of Russell T Davies' era, but we'll cover that when we get to it. Series 5, I went back and forth for a reason. Series 5, wow. Okay, I need to prepare myself for this. I'm looking through the episodes right now. We only have one bad story in this. Yeah, one bad story in this bunch, and that is Victory of the Daleks. Just because it commits some fouls as with the Daleks, but the other ones that I was kind of pondering a bit, but ultimately decided were not trash, are Vampires in Venice, because it actually made me laugh, and it does some interesting stuff with the Doctor's character, and it is pretty pivotal in Amy and Rory's relationship, so it does serve a purpose in that regard, and it does some brilliant stuff in general with that. And then The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood. Actually, I take it back. There are 3 bad episodes. But yeah, in general, 10 brilliant pieces of science fiction. We have The 11th Hour. What an opener. Beast Below, a little worse, but it does some really interesting stuff, and I think it succeeds in strides as a first companion story. We have Time of the Angels and Flesh and Stone, which I actually think is better than Blink. Amy's Choice, which has great character work and a really great science fiction concept. Vincent and the Doctor, which is the historical episode done amazing with a tear-jerking finale. We have The Lodger, which is pure comic relief, but is also a lot of fun. And then the Pandorica opens in Big Bang, which is a really solid finale, especially the Pandorica opens, which is, the Pandorica opens is a pacing masterpiece in my opinion. And it does some interesting stuff with the conclusion of these arcs. And then, it's like the icing on the cake, we have the best Christmas special in all of Modern Who. We have A Christmas Carol. This is, banger after banger. It's a really close call. Series 4 only comes through because it has history, but for something that was incredibly new with a new Doctor and new companions, nothing borrowed from Russell T Davies, I cannot believe this series is as good as it is. But it is this good. It is so good. Anyway, moving on, we have NumberOne Series 4. Series 4. So this is David Tennant at his best, with my favorite companion in Doctor Who, Donna Noble. Also featuring, actually no, she's my second favorite companion. Also featuring my favorite companion, Wilfred Mott, played by the masterful Bernard Cribbins. And he also appears in this series all over the place. Okay, so let's look at this at large. We have, let's see, 1, 3. We have 3 bad episodes. Actually, yeah, I'll okay, so my 3 bad episodes are The Doctor's Daughter, Centauran Stratagem, and The Poison Sky. The reason I lumped the Centauran Stratagem in there is because it's never been a really interesting story, especially for Unit. It's one of the more boring Unit stories, and I'm actually kind of fond of the Unit stories, so yeah, I don't particularly love it, but man, this series is so good. My voice is getting tired. I'm actually getting really raspy, so let's sum this up. Series 4 has some of the best episodes of Modern Era, and because of all the history that's been built up in here, you have one of the best finales. The Stolen Earth, Journey's End. What a finale. You also have Turn Left, Midnight, Silence in the Library, which is the first appearance of Riversong. Oh my god. The first half of the series has, Partners in Crime, Fires of Pompeii, Planet of the Ood, pretty good stories, but not super great. But, you know, once you reach the latter half of this one, it is consistently amazing stories. I cannot believe how many field goals this series struck, but it did. It struck all of them. This is by far the best series of Doctor Who of the modern era, at least to me. Everyone is able to form their own opinions, of course, but man, wow, what a series. And I'm going to spare my voice now and call it quits here. So yeah, anyways guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and comment what you guys think, and remember, stay gamer.